Okay, I heard you loud and clear. Everyone wants to know, how do you create a live video podcast? How does this work? What goes into it and all the things? So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right to it. Hey y'all, Crystal here today, and I have been getting bombarded with questions about video podcasts. What are they? Where do they show up? How do you create them? And to be really honest, I didn't want to talk about them for a long time. And there's a reason. Hang on, stay with me here. There's a reason. It's because I wasn't doing them myself. Now, whenever I think of a video podcast, right, because we should define what that actually means, it means that it gives your listeners, your audience, the ability to watch you while you podcast. Now, this could be live or it could be recorded, like behind closed doors where no one else sees it until it goes live out into the world as your podcast episode. So I wanted to try this out myself, and I did some live recordings. You can actually check out this video right here. I've done a few of these where I record my daily podcast. I started broadcasting it whenever I am recording it, and it's actually been really fun. So if you want to see what it looks like to someone to record a live podcast, then check out those videos. There's actually a playlist where you can go back and see how I do my daily show, the Poddy Report. So make sure you check that out too, because there are some great tips and resources for all kinds of podcasters in there. But now I want to kind of break it down of why you would want to do a video podcast in the first place, where you would do it, and then actually how. So we're going to get super practical. So let's get right to it. So first things first, why would you want to do a video podcast? Maybe you're thinking, Crystal, I signed up to do a podcast so no one would have to see my face. I want to be in my pajamas. I want to be recording with my hair in a bun or my ball cap on, whatever that may look like for you. So why would I want to be on video? This is usually what people tell me. They're like, I don't want to be on video. What are you even talking about? But I do know that there are a select few of you out there that are like, well, I don't know. I don't understand why I would want to do that. Is it a separate thing? Is it in addition to my podcast? Basically, they're asking, is this more work for me? Is this going to make my life harder? So my why behind why I started doing my daily podcast is to show a behind the scenes. It actually allows me to engage with my audience while we're live. So I really enjoy the engagement factor between me and my audience. They can ask me questions. I can answer them in real time. So I'm answering the questions to the person who's asking them, but I'm also able to kind of share that experience, that conversation with those people that will listen to the podcast at a later date. So I like a live video podcast because it allows you to engage with your audience on a totally different level than if you just record an audio file kind of behind closed doors and then you publish it out into a void if you aren't already engaging with your audience in some way. So if you haven't heard it, I've said it like 4 times, but engagement is a very important word that we're talking about here. So I want you to use a live video podcast in order to engage with your audience and connect with them on a different level. And I want to go back for a second because I kind of mentioned being able to answer questions. I like the idea of, and there's a few ways you can do it, but I like the idea of you could actually ask your audience, like, hey guys, we're here live. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll answer them at the end. Or you could do your recording. Maybe you don't do a ton of engagement while you're live. And then you say, hey, if you stick around to the end, maybe you could tell your audience before you actually start recording. If you stick around until the end, then I'm going to answer your questions live, but only for those people that are here in the audience while we're recording and afterwards. So it kind of gives a little bit of that exclusivity, like, oh, like I'm going to show up live because I want to get my questions answered. So that's a really cool way that you can use a Q&A either while you're live or afterwards to, once again, engage with your audience on a deeper level. So the second question I get asked a lot is where? Like, where do you actually do a live video podcast. And we're going to get into the how next, but where I go live is I have a software that I'll tell you about. Don't worry, don't get all antsy about what it is. I'm going to tell you in a second, but I have a software that allows me to go live on my Facebook page, in my Facebook group. I could go live in multiple groups if I wanted to, and on YouTube all at the same time. So, and I could have my phone as well. I'm actually recording this video right now on my phone, but I could have my phone set up, have my webcam, and then I'm actually like live streaming in multiple different places. And then I'm going to get into the how in a second, but I could take that audio file and use it for my podcast at a later date. But you could do Facebook groups. So you could do your Facebook page, Facebook groups. You could do Instagram if you wanted to do it live on your phone. You could do it on YouTube, or you could do it on other social media platforms that give you the ability to go live. But I love this idea because, again, it allows you to engage with your audience and just have a totally different interaction than you would if you're just recording in your home studio, like behind closed doors where no one can see you, and then you just kind of put your message out there. I like having the engagement factor while you're live sharing your important message on your podcast. So I want you to tell me in the comments below, are you already going live somewhere on a regular basis? And if so, where? I know I like to go live in my paid Facebook groups. I go live on my Facebook page from time to time. I go live on Instagram, and I've started doing the live recordings of my daily podcast. So tell me in the comments if you're going live on a regular basis, and if so, where? Which platform are you using? Okay, let's get back to the video. And the third question I get asked a lot is how? How do you actually create a live video podcast? So I'm going to encourage you to check out Streamyard. You can check all about it right here in this video if you want to see how I take Facebook Lives and I turn them into podcast episodes, because this service has been a game changer for me. I started using it in early 2020. I had another service that I tried and I wasn't really crazy about, but this one really helped me step up my game in a lot of different ways. It's helped me feel more comfortable going live, knowing that the technology was going to work on my end, and that I could bring in podcast guests and I could have people there with me live. And it makes it very easy once you're done doing your live broadcast. On the back end, you can just hit a button and download the audio. You don't have to download the video and then convert that. You don't have to do any of that. You can just download the audio file and upload that into your hosting service if you just want to keep it super, super simple. So I highly encourage you, check out StreamYard, go watch that video. It will be very helpful. But the other thing that you can do, let's say you wanted to just do Instagram. You wanted to just set your phone up and say, okay, I'm going to go live. I'm going to do an IG live, and this is how I wanted to do it. This is what's going to work for me. Well, then I encourage you to do it in a space where you can have your podcast microphone right there. And while you're going live, you're broadcasting on Instagram, have your microphone about the same distance from where your phone is, because if people can hear you on your phone, it's likely they'll hear you on your podcast mic. So the way I would set this up, if I was doing Instagram Live, I'd have my phone, then I would have my microphone here, and I would have my audio recording platform. I use Hindenburg. I would have that recording in the background while I'm talking. So even if there's questions or there's something else like going on, like I would just have it recording, and I would edit out anything that I decide, I don't really want to put that in the podcast. Or, there was a long Q&A section at the end. Maybe that was 30 minutes alone, and you're like, I don't know that I want to include all that. That's okay. We can always cut that out and not use it, but it's better to have it just as soon as you go live, hit that record button, and then you have this audio file that you can use however you want to on your podcast. But I hope you found this video helpful on explaining the why, where, and how of creating a live video podcast. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out, put them in the comments below, and let's start the conversation about creating a live video podcast. And make sure you check out the videos that are mentioned in the video description below. And if you have not already, I would so appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up on this video, and make sure you hit that bell. That way you get notified every time we put out new videos every single week. Check out these other videos right here, all about podcasting and running your online business. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.